The following podcast may be explicit.
One Joe Young presents Adventures from the Shed, a tabletop RPG podcast. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com. Welcome to a special Sidebar podcast. We bring in Randy, who has been listening to Adventures from the Shed for a couple years. We have a casual chat about gaming and ask Randy his opinions on some of the things we've done over the years. Enjoy the podcast. Hi, and welcome to The Shed for Adventures from the Shed. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com, on iTunes, Facebook. As a matter of fact, this is going to be up on Facebook at some point, and it's going to be those people watching. We have a special Sidebar podcast we're recording at this point, and we're going to go around the table, skipping our special guest for last, and we'll say hi. Start with this guy.
Hey, it's Mike. I usually play Laramie Burnsteel, the Paladin of Josiah.
Joe.
And who's next?
Hey, this is Kurt. I've been here for a long time playing a lot of people.
Yeah.
This is Chris, not so
Make
much
sure
of a long time, but partially playing a lot of other crazy people.
a lot of other crazy people, other than the Chris himself.
Yeah, that's right.
And I am Joe. I guess I'd say, the host of Adventures from the Shed, because right now I'm not the game master. I'm the PM, the podcast master,
right.
or Prime Minister. And as Prime Minister, I've gotten an envoy from Indiana, I believe.
Ambassador.
We have joining us today a special guest. It's a special sidebar in that it's our first remote guest ever on the podcast. That guy over there on the monitor, his name is...
Hi, guys. I'm Randy. Nice to talk to you. I'll be playing the computer screen on the other side of the desk.
There you go.
Doing a good job, Sid.
Randy AI.
You're nailing it, dude. It's like perfect. So we thought, or at least I thought, finally, after 4 years of the podcast, the technology might be good enough for my, audio snobbery to say we might be able to get someone on here remotely. So I chatted with Randy last night on Skype. He's on Skype today there. And I think it was good enough for us.
This is cool.
I appreciate the audio snobbery, though.
Yeah.
Because some podcasts sound like garbage.
Garbage.
Yeah.
If I'm going to put garbage on, I'm going to pronounce it garbage. And I will get it from Target.
Yeah.
So there. So here we are, and we're just going to talk about stuff in general. Like, for example, I had a Cthulhu gift from folks here on the podcast, I guess a couple years ago at least now. And Kurt's making sure it's right up front for Randy to see, and showed our Facebook folks there. And we've done so much stuff on the podcast. Just the things on the, just a couple of things on the table are good indicators. Like, first off, this table itself has been with us the whole time. Mm-hmm. The logo there in the middle of the table was both created, applied, and perfected by none other than Mr. Mike here.
Yeah.
That was all him.
Nice.
Although I keep thinking about doing a new one, so I don't know. We'll see.
Superb. I need a new t-shirt because I've worn a white t-shirt with this logo on it to the gym so many times
It's
that
no
it's like
longer
gray,
itself off.
and all the like cute 24-year-olds there look at me and they're like, "Who's that weird dude with the grayed out adventures from the?"
Who's the old man over there?
Yeah, seriously.
Are they like, I want to party with that
And I'm
guy.
like, I need a new, colorful, awesome shed shirt.
Whose dad is it?
Whose dad is wearing that Adventures from the Shed shirt?
He's so gross.
So, Randy, you've listened to us for a while. How awesome is the podcast?
I like how you set that up.
Well, since I check in every time it's uploaded, I'd say it's pretty awesome. You guys always keep me entertained and everything. So just keep being awesome, and I'll keep listening.
Oh no, that's a pretty low bar for us. We're there already. Right?
Started awesome.
Yeah, we go from awesome up.
Have you been here since the beginning, or?
I think Mike had already left the first time when I finally found you guys. I was listening to a previous D&D podcast that had quit, and then I searched to get my fix, and then I stumbled upon you guys and listened to the back catalog and listened to the setting the shed on fire and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, Fireball the Shack.
Yeah.
A classic moment in our history.
It is. Another one brought to you by Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
tend occasionally get a good idea, I guess.
Well, at least it's occasional. We don't want to push it. We want to keep our level of awesome at a good level.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Chris.
You've listened to us play different game systems, some D&D, some Dungeon World, some other things we've tried.
Yes, I listened to, like I said, I listened to every episode since the back catalog. I've heard you guys try to do, was it 5 or was it 4 at the time? And you guys just bailed on that midway through and switched to the Dungeon World system.
Oh, it's
It was
5. Yeah. Once we got, I think, for me at least, once we got up to, I think it was level 5 or so, the characters get too complex for the podcast, and I said, let's switch to something a little easier. It wasn't the most popular decision at the time, but...
'Cause that was the Ravenloft thing, wasn't it?
no, that, it was...
Oh, the Strahd. No, wasn't it? I thought it was.
It was one of the Dungeon World worlds.
Yeah,
I think it was
Paradisi.
Paradisi.
Yeah, a lot of us enjoy playing 5e, but for recording purposes, the Dungeon World tends to move a little bit faster. You don't get bogged down in the mechanics of combat and figuring out which spell slots you still have open, like in 5e.
Yeah, I kind of felt like when we spent more than half of our time talking about rules, it probably felt like it was, to me at least, it felt like it was getting boring for somebody listening to just audio. And I don't know, I think rules conversations don't play too well unless you're describing the rules, not necessarily looking them up and arguing over them.
Yeah, although I think that I've seen with you, Joe, that you sort of make it a little bit more educational than a typical D&D podcast, in that you will explain the rules if they come up. And I think that some people appreciate that.
I would say, because some people might have the same confusion, or like, how do they pull that off? And
Yeah.
Someone from the outside, I will say that I do appreciate that. You guys will, every time you guys want to do a new spell that you haven't done in a while, Joe will say, hey, can you read the description of that spell? And we remember, as you guys remember.
Yeah.
You get to hear that. What you don't get to hear is when I say that, half of the time the eyes are rolling. When I say, go ahead and read that out again. We just want to make sure.
No. Yeah. Often we haven't played in 3 weeks or a month, so it's good to be able to refresh our own memories on the powers that our amazing characters have.
To this point, the last time we were in the shed here was almost a month ago. It's the second, it was the 5th last month, so almost exactly a month. And we don't, I say we, I'm pretty sure most of us don't remember what happened in between. And because the episodes, anybody who's actually listening in the room, anyone who listens to the podcast, still doesn't hear it until the time it's released. We don't listen to them ahead of time. Most of the time we're not able to review and remember what we did. So a month has passed. We don't know what happened last, which is another reason for me. I think it's important to do a recap at the beginning of a lot of episodes. Not all of them, but a lot. Yeah.
It's also the way that you like to punish us if you're mad at us.
Well, yeah.
Kurt, you've been a bad boy. You do the recap.
We also have to
I
remind.
guess that's why Kurt reads a lot of them.
We also have to remind.
Although I'm a lot better at
Doggist.
Well, I was going to say, I remember a lot better what happened last episode since I stopped drinking. 2 years ago, it was like, I have no idea.
I can't remember anything.
Now I at least remember last time we were in a forking tunnel and we were following a crazy dwarf.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we had a really
like
a hot druid with us.
And the thing is, right now, actually, what we're doing right now is going to be tomorrow's episode, which means, Randy, you'll be on the podcast tomorrow, as it were.
Yeah.
But,
Well, technically, I have been on a podcast before, but by name.
Exactly.
I joke about that from time to time with my friends. I'm like, hey, listen to this weird honorable mention that you guys did.
Well, so Randy, tell us a little bit about your gaming background. Do you play? Do you just listen for fun? What's your deal?
It's been a few years since I've actually picked up the dice and played a game, but I started when I was 11. My mom had a coworker who we went to a birthday party, and I played his PlayStation. That's so long ago, and he invited me and my brother to start playing D&D with his group of people. There was several people there. It was a chaos, but it was fun, and I got hooked. And I went there almost every Sunday for about 4 or 5 years, just playing the kind of a mix of 3. He had special rules for his games, but it's been 23 years, I'd say now. So.
Oh wow! I had a similar story. I played it in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and then just fell away from it for decades and got into computer RPGs and really enjoyed that, but got back into playing around the table just to get social with actual real people again. And
actual real people.
Yeah, it's been super fun, and so have a great time here. And then I've got other games going and other things, and it's really fun.
People say they don't understand it, but it's like you get to make someone like in your own creation. Sure, the dice tell you where to put the points or whatever for your specific character if you want them to be a warrior or a wizard or whatever, but you generally can make your own person. Whether the dice will let you, be awesome or a complete failure, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
The dice make failures awesome.
Especially in Dungeon World. I feel like even more so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We like to fail. Well, I like it when you guys fail.
Yeah.
I have. I'm actually at Mike's house running, helping him run the Curse of Strahd adventure with Dungeon World rules, and I'm using my my scheme of keeping a count of failures and then just using them at will later. And I believe right now they are up to 22 failures that I have held that I'm just making things happen, which it's a very useful thing in using a D&D published adventure within Dungeon World rules, because there are things, you guys may remember with Strahd, there are things that should just happen, or Strahd is too powerful for the characters at this point.
Right.
Well, there's no such thing in Dungeon World, right? He's really not too powerful. You can still go up and chop his head off if you roll the 10 plus, and well, that would bring a quick end to the adventure. So I'm keeping it as failures where if I need something to happen, it just happens. They don't get to roll. It just happens, and then they have to deal with that. Yeah. Mike's character lost several body pieces.
Yeah, I got
in
munched
the
on last
session.
time, so.
By Baron von Strahd or by someone
No,
else?
by like nobody. They were
vampire
in boxes.
They were vampire spawn, and they ate a bit of the druid, the thief.
Yeah.
Halfling thief.
He's half the man he used to be.
Quarter man.
So how long have you guys been playing the game? Any version of any RPG?
Yeah, I was going to say I started around when I was 10, so it was like 30 some years ago, and it was just me and my older brother at the time, and I didn't know what I was doing, and it was like keep on the Borderlands. I go in, I end up fighting like the lackeys in the stable, get injured. I'm trying to escape, crossbow bolt in the back. I lasted like an hour. It was horrible, and then later you just start getting into different campaigns. But mine was been mostly D&D over the years, and then. Cyberpunk and Call of Cthulhu, and then Dungeon World recently, and all that jazz.
Back with first and second edition D&D, I don't think I ever made it more than 2 hours into a game. I was always dead. It was so hard back then. Keep on the Borderlands, I was like, I can see the keep way over there. Oh, no, I'm dead.
How about you, Mike?
I think I'm actually fairly new to it. Like, I've probably only been playing like 5 or 6 years. I don't know. I was married at the time and wanted to find a place where I could find people that didn't have children. So I started playing D&D. And then found that all those people had children. They just got away for the night.
That's funny.
But yeah, I've been real into it since then. So I guess I'm making up for lost time.
Catherine asked me today what time I would be home from the shed. I said, well, I'll be home by midnight. She's like, wait, you're starting at 10 a.m.? I was like, yeah. She's like, you're not recording that long. I said, no, I might just go wander around the county and get in trouble afterwards.
You just tell her what you don't want me home by midnight. I can stay out later.
Right.
So I guess I've been playing for, well, if I had to put a number on it now, 40 years? I don't want to put that number on it, though.
Well, and
So
you've played pretty much straight through, right?
There was probably overall 5 years out of that where I wasn't playing something, but I was reading something, writing something, whatever. It's just I really enjoy the getting around a table with people and essentially managing a project. 'Cause
Right.
that's what we do the whole time. We have our resources, and we have to manage our resources and each other. And Randy almost fell out of his chair.
I was getting some tissue. I was hiding.
Oh, do we get to see Tango at some point?
I put them away, but
Okay.
I can go get them.
Yeah. Randy's got this tiny chihuahua.
Oh, wow. I was going to say something I've discovered, Randy, about gaming is I really enjoy learning about new game systems. At first, I got into that playing here. We would try Cthulhu or we played that game test for Adara, and we played a little Star Wars. And now I just enjoy, for fun, reading. I've been reading the 13th Age core rule book and the Dragon Age core rule book and Nice Black Agent, which is another Pelgrane Press game, which is really fun. So
Kurt actually has a bookshelf full of RPG books that he has read but never played.
that is right. I have a backlog of things that at some point I will find someone to play with me.
Right.
So,
But it's really nice to see. You got the nice living room fireplace in the corner, the TV up on the wall, the in-wall bookshelves, and an entire shelf of just like D&D 5th edition stuff collected, and then Pathfinder on another shelf. It's very pretty.
Wow.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I've got literally a first edition Memoirs of Ulysses S. Grant. I've got all my Lincoln biographies, and then I've got like Van Graff's Guide to Dragons, like right next to it. So,
All historically important.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, definitely.
Don't happen.
Awesome.
It's all true.
So, Brandy, what other podcasts do you listen to, and how much worse are they than ours?
Well, as I was mentioning in a previous D&D podcast, it was Nerd Poker with Brian Posehn and friends. They were on the Earwolf Corporation, I guess, before they went solo. And when they came back, they were using horrible microphones, so we're picking up like chewing sounds and everything. Thank God you guys don't have that. One dude just
That's Kurt Butz's,
Kurt is chewing right now, and he reached to mute his microphone.
Fortunate
low, you
thing is,
can't even hear
Kurt
it,
mutes
though,
himself all the time.
I'm really conscious about muting myself right before I bite into a big taco chip.
Awesome. Yeah, go on, Randy.
That's funny. I can't believe that someone who listened to Brian Posehn is now listening to us. That's awesome.
Because we're better.
Have you watched any of the, there's been a big shift, I think, to a lot of people watching stuff on YouTube and Twitch where you've got the video version of it. Do you watch any of the like video actual plays, or you just do audio podcasts?
I mostly do audio podcasts. I work in a warehouse, so it keeps me company and laughing and not listening to just the silence or the occasional boom of boxes like way down the other aisles.
Yeah.
I like to think that we've been the cause of at least one forklift hitting a rack. That sounds good to me.
I hope not.
My section doesn't drive forklifts, unfortunately.
Oh, well.
No, I just put away boxes all day.
Okay.
It's like dice, just bigger and spill paper everywhere.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like to listen at work and in the car, so I tend to stick to audio podcasts. But I know a lot of people are watching them. Force Gray and the big ones.
What's a Critical Role or something?
Critical Role,
Yeah.
yeah.
Although I started actually listening to Critical Role since they've made it a podcast.
Oh, okay.
Like before, it was just too much to watch it.
Yeah.
See, I don't think it's really fair. I mean, those are like professional actors and improvisers, and we're just dudes who like German dungeon porn.
We're just, but we're amateurly awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any one of our campaigns that you especially liked? Like that one was really cool.
The Curse of Strahd was really good. My favorite, though, has to be when Joe and Kurt did the... I think it was not the Curse of Cthulhu. It was the other one. It was Cthulhu-based.
Cthulhu Confidential, the one-on-one.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
Like the filmoir-ish kind of
thing was excellent. You guys played that really well, I thought.
That's very cool. Now, as a side note, I don't know if you're aware of this, on Pelgrane Press's website, who are the ones that publish that, they actually have the podcasts of Kurt and I doing that as a reference material on their website.
Oh, wow, cool.
Excellent.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
You said that last time I told you to.
Yeah, I was going to say. Still using that noob thing still, too.
I didn't know they had referenced us. I don't think I realized it was put up
We
there.
are up there as an actual play example of that system.
It's funny, that one came with 3 adventures, and Joe and I did the first one, which was great. Then we tried another one that was a little trickier, in part because you're playing an African-American lead character in like the 1940s, which is tough to do when you're a white guy from New Hampshire or
Also tough when you're
Massachusetts.
wondering how it will play on the internet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then the third adventure that they publish is a really good one with a female reporter protagonist. And I've been wanting to do that one with Catherine, with my wife, because I think it would be really fun. But I want a woman to play the character.
Yeah.
So try to talk Joe into recording that one at some point and seeing how it goes. But
We should.
I don't know if she'll do it.
Still want to. Yeah. Well, I think she's probably more likely now that she's played more often, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
That'd be cool.
I've definitely been enjoying the Perils of Parent DC. I wanted to somehow figure out how to work in Marvel instead of DC as a joke on the page. Perils of Parent Marvel.
I get it.
Have
I'm
Iron
trying to
Man
do
swoop
puns
in.
on my post on
Yeah.
the page.
That's awesome. Yes. That's one of the things that you guys... of course, I keep up with the Facebook comments and such, and I'm not sure everybody sees them. I think Chris sees them.
Yeah, I usually try to see
But
them.
Randy is
I'm
one of
late.
the ones with some regular likes and posts and comments on our stuff. That's one of the reasons he's here. When I put a message out there saying if anybody wants to try joining us remotely, Randy actually replied. And granted, I had a couple other replies, but people that were just like, "I'd like to, but," and then Randy said, "Yeah, I'd like to." And here we are. I don't know, what is it, like 6 months later? It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, we had just moved ourselves,
Yeah.
like Mickey and JJ, how they unfortunately moved away. Hopefully they come back, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for a game or two. But so my office, as you can see, is still a wreck. We've been moving stuff still and painting walls and all that. So I've been trying to get this together somehow, and it finally came together.
Great. Yeah.
It works. Yeah, and I think so far we hear you fine. I think you hear us fine. And I mean, this little view I have here is kind of neat. All of us and then him on the table. That's what will be on Facebook later. So Chris had asked about the adventure or the campaign that you liked. What about any characters or any specific character that jumped out at you that you thought was, I don't know, either exceptionally gifted or just odd or something different about a character that one of us may have played?
I am like the worst person with names, but I can tell you, Joe, you had that character a few games ago, the knight who's always, what was your catchphrase?
Go Paler.
Yeah, that was the
Go
Stroud
Paler,
campaign.
yeah.
Yep, that was Calvin.
Was always funny.
Yeah. That was one of the things I enjoyed most about that campaign was being able to play a character with a shtick. Because that's my favorite thing. When I play a character, that character has to do something that's recognizable. And that was him. Go Payload.
I don't know what you're talking about. Go Joe.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, if you happen to listen to the Dungeoneers podcast, Mike has stuff going there. But in our campaign here, the current one of A New Frontier, Mike's Laramie is following Josiah. Actually, if we can clear that up. Is it Josiah? Kurt has said more than
It's
once.
Josiah.
All right, I
Yeah.
just want to, because that's what I've said.
Yeah.
Although Go
he's-
Joe is the important part.
Just
Yeah.
totally made him up. He's like
Yeah.
the god of mysteries and stuff like that. So
And
that's
stuff
cool.
like that.
Yeah.
Were you leaving the shed when you made it up? Hey, Joe, see ya.
Oh, fits right in, folks.
Very good.
My jokes are terrible. Like paper.
well, you are a dad, so you officially can have dad jokes. And that fits.
Yeah.
I definitely tried those every once in a while. My daughter cannot understand them yet, but still laughs regardless.
Well, that's important.
That's good. Enjoy it while it lasts. My 13-year-old rolls his eyes at me every single day. Oh, Dad.
For real, Dad. For real.
Yeah.
What other things that you can remind us of that we could talk about that were fun for you to listen to, that we could tell you what it was like when we played it?
I know you guys play that terrible Star Wars game, but the dice rolling was actually pretty interesting. It was just the campaign. They were like, hey, here's some grenades. Please walk through the game easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So who wants to take a stab at the Star Wars debacle?
Well, I mean, like, I do understand the dice have they have those specialty dice that you I guess it's a triumph, a success, and a failure, and some other
and
thing.
like epic failures.
But yeah, the whole. I mean, I feel like because I've listened to other podcasts that play on the that system, and they don't like focus as much on like an adventure path, and it seems to work better. But like their starter adventure was sort of had its problems, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I would try it again, I guess.
I thought the system was awesome, as I
Yeah.
recall. It was just that the starter adventure was poorly designed. And
Well, when a game system says you have a dice pool and you actually have to use both hands to hold them, to roll them,
Oh, yeah.
that's fun, right? And I'm sure. I know listening back when I produce the podcast, I know listening back, the sound of 10 dice hitting the table at once is kind of neat because it's one of those, we're all sitting around individually mic'd, but our individual mics pick up that nice little high-pitched frequency when the dice hit the table, so it's a nice stereo echoey sound when it happens. And when all those dice hit, it's like, hey, that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, the only thing worse is Shadowrun. It's like roll 27 d6s and count.
Yeah. Yeah.
of course, now we can get apps on the phone if we really have to. And
Yes,
just do it.
Yeah, it doesn't have the
1,000
same
dice.
effect, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
I
My older
agree.
brother calls falling house damage, just like all the dice.
Falling house damage.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I like that.
Problem with apps is there's no rolling mechanic. It's just like you press the button and then it tells you the outcome of the roll. It's like, I want to see an animation. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
And noises and Heck, dude, make the phone vibrate in my hand while the dice is rolling or something. That would be much better.
That would actually be pretty cool. Yeah, that like slowly calms down.
All right, who can write an app?
Oh, not me.
Kurt, I'm sure you got that.
Yeah.
You're a really tech savvy
I was
guy.
gonna say, yeah, it's I'm on the ball.
But yeah, if we ever play that Star Wars game again, I would be Gregory the grenade seller because like, you would
Get
just
that out
have unlimited damage all the time.
It's awesome. That simple item was way too powerful for the situation that the characters found themselves in.
Well, the other thing, as I recall, is it's basically one map and one mission.
Yeah.
And there were literally multiple rooms on that map that had nothing in them.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're like, you're in a kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I mean,
Okay, great.
you only have 13 rooms or whatever in the starter set.
Yeah.
Why are you giving me an empty kitchen?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
There should have been something useful in almost every section of a starter set, without a doubt.
That and
I
the
will say
speeder
one thing
bikes
about
can
the
out.
way you guys play. Joe has a tendency to, if you guys are not, and he said this before in a previous one of these open podcasts, that if you guys are skipping over a room where a trap would be, he tends to move that trap or move the chest or move the
Make it
monsters.
happen.
I do the same
I've
thing,
listened-
right? Yeah, I'm like, you're gonna get that no matter what.
I listened to another podcast on where they just kept on making like these right turns and like never went anywhere for almost a full episode, and they recorded for like 2 hours. And just like, can you help them get to the room or something? Come on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the action can definitely get stale, and for me, that's one of the things that I like to do when we're in here. Is I'll focus on the podcast almost as much as I'll focus on the game. I want to make sure that something's happening, and one of the things I do with that, I mentioned this to Randy when he and I chat last night. But actually, can you say chat or do you have to say chatted?
I mean,
Chat sounded good.
Probably works.
We chat.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you might be able to go either way with
Chatting?
that one.
I don't know.
So right now we're taking a chit. Last night we chatted.
All right.
There you go.
Does that sound about right? Okay.
Oh, jeez.
as we were talking last night, I mentioned him. One of the things I'll do in the podcast to try and keep us, I don't know, focus isn't the right word, but on track is probably a better word. I'll say in between, look, you guys were like in the wrong spot, and here's where we need to focus when we start up the next one.
Yeah.
And I do that as part of a podcast. But I would encourage people playing a face-to-face game, the DM, at some point, go ahead and speak up. Tell the players, look, you really need to stop looking in the kitchen because it's empty. You've been going through silverware drawers for 20 minutes now. Let's move on.
This is where like NPCs are always good guys that always have hanging around to kind of like, hey, why don't we check this out?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's actually a really challenge for a DM. In my other game right now, we've gone to a new city. And so there's all kind of stuff that you can do. And there's a clear hook. It's like, if you want to keep the actual adventure moving forward, you need to kind of do this. But they're like, yeah, but there's like armor people we can see and all this.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Like, they're having fun.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
but you could use those same people to do. They could drop those little hook pieces. Like anybody, I want to go see this chef. I want to go see this armor. I want to go see this guy, and then I'll mention something that deals with the hook. You know.
But what's funny, it's a challenge we've had a little bit in that some players really like kind of political games or diplomacy or
Yeah.
conversation,
Like that.
and other characters really want combat.
Yep.
And surprisingly, my wife, who's playing her first ever D&D game with us, we've had like 2 sessions in the city with really no combat.
Yeah.
And literally at the end of last one, she's like, that sucked. She's like, if I don't kill something soon, I'm done. Meanwhile, everyone else is like having a blast
Yeah,
going
you
around,
gotta-
like doing all this stuff. And
You got to balance the intrigue over the violence.
so I literally
sometimes,
told her,
too.
I was like, all right, if they don't go down, if you guys don't follow the hook, I'll just have a bar fight next time. And we'll have a 30-minute bar fight.
Yeah, she sounds pretty good.
I was there at the beginning of Kurt's game for a few sessions, and in the beginning of that adventure, we were fighting goblins for like 3 or 4 sessions in a row. At the 4th session, she said, Kurt's wife said, I'm sick of fighting goblins. And then we had these 2 sessions of diplomacy or exploration, and at the end of that, she's like, let me kill something, even if it's a damn goblin. I don't care. But it's a big part. Make sure that you get to roll dice. And one of the reasons I like the Dungeon World mechanic of you roll dice no matter what situation you're in.
Right.
It's
Well,
the same mechanic no matter what you're doing.
Right. And so I brought that up not to talk about another game, but because it's exactly that point. Roll dice no matter what. So like we had one session where they were just exploring town and talking to people, and it was fine, but we didn't roll any dice. Well, the last session, same thing, exploring town, talking to people, but I made them roll diplomacy checks and insight checks and persuasion checks, and I think had a lot more fun. So, which you do a good job here of keeping us rolling and keeping engaged because it's more fun for the listeners.
Yeah, I think a podcast D&D and normal D&D are, you have to play them in different ways. Like you have to, it's almost like you have to keep it on the run with the podcast, and you have to just keep it going and going and going, that you can't have those like whole hour sessions where you just do nothing because it's just boring to listen to. Yeah.
Especially when you're the DM, it's kind of weird to like change your mindset of working that out,
Although it's like super tiring to DM for a podcast because of that pace that you have to keep it. Like
I hear that.
Like it's sort of relaxing to do any other ones. Like I go to my other games and I'm like, oh, this is a nice relaxing evening. And I get done with my podcast or this podcast and I'm just like wiped out because it's like
extra strain.
It's too much.
Yeah. And I get to do 2 this weekend.
Yeah.
As do you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny how tiring this is, even though it's super fun. Yeah. Like I come home and Catherine, I've been gone all day and she wants me to like play with the kids. I'm like, oh man, I'm just wiped out. She's like, really? You're wiped out from all that dungeon world? Like, what'd you do? Have sex with an elf today? Come on, I know.
We fought a dragon.
No, baby, it was a half orc today. It wasn't as great as you think it might be.
Yeah.
She's like, I know about that, Wylena. I know the way you roll.
Man. So, Randy, you mentioned it's been a few years since you played. What was the last thing you played?
Pathfinders. We actually had about a 2-year campaign that was every Sunday for about 4 or 5 hours every day.
Wow.
That was some crazy stuff. My friends are nuts, and the adventures, man. You guys want to say weird? One of them was a halfling, and was hanging out with this paladin female, and he was just went into this new town they've never been in before, and for some reason he just got in his head to go, she's a pedophile, get her away from me. It's like, what are you doing?
Pedophile paladin?
Incriminating right off the bat. Call the cops.
That's awesome. Were you guys doing
in that town very long?
Were you doing a set adventure path, or was he doing homebrew?
Homebrew. We generally stick with homebrew. This is the first podcast or anything I've listened to where you guys sometimes focus on someone else's story that they've made, and those have some funny outcomes too when you guys try to stray from the path.
I don't know that anyone actually tries. It just happens.
Yeah.
Because you think you've got the right idea in your head. Clearly, the adventure said, I mean, to Kurt's point, where you say there's some armor over there, or there's a guard over in front of that door. Well, in the published adventure, the guard's just standing there because that's his place to stand. It's actually an empty kitchen or something, right? Yeah. But you get it in your head as a player, there's a guard. There has to be something important behind there. Yeah. And it strays from the path, but it's just the interpretation you have around the table. I think it's inevitable, and it happens in every adventure, every published adventure. What I like about the sandbox or the homebrew type of stuff is once you say you want to go to that door, well, guess what? There's going to be something important behind there, or at least something useful.
Yeah.
It makes it more entertaining that you made a choice that made a difference instead of you made a choice that made no difference.
Yeah. I think with homebrew, you spend more time kind of daydreaming and thinking about your game and your world, but actually running the game is so much easier than trying to run it off a published adventure.
Yeah.
Like I think was it you or JJ that ran Strahd?
JJ ran Strahd. I went to Pelor.
That's right.
I did Galvin.
But like I'm running Rise of the Rune Lords now in my home game, and I've had to start improvising a lot more because I hate having to look in the book and be like, oh, what is that character stats or what goes, and I'm like, I'm going to read it, I'm going to get the basic idea, I'm going to know the high points they want to hit, I'm going to follow the plot, but then I'm making it up. At every moment where I have any doubt, I make it up, and I make the character's name up, and it's gotten so much better.
I think that's always better anyway, because just what if somebody has read part of that or played part of it before, then it's like a new twist for them. They don't know where it's going, which is always cool.
It's just, you get into one of these dungeons with 40 rooms in it, or a house, like I was in a haunted manor that has 39 rooms, and you don't know which way they're going, and flipping pages is no fun, so...
Strahd is a good example of that because the castle itself has something like 144.
Oh, especially the catacomb and stuff. It's insane.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Mike, we won't be going through all that.
Aw.
You guys will hit the important parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll hit 143.
Okay. That sounds good.
One of them's useless.
Over that, it's too much.
Yeah, just way too much.
Although the tough thing with a pre-written adventure is if you try to like go freeform with it too much, then you could be like either revealing something or sending them down a path that the rest of the adventure is broken, so that it's tough to get back. You have to sort of like let them play and then push it back to the...
I'm always fine with that.
totally
though.
right.
Usually I have like an idea of what I want to do for a campaign, and then I end up taking stuff from store-bought because like I need stats on whatever, and I'm like, oh, I'll take part of this story too because it already fits in with mine, and so I merge them together.
Yeah.
But it does throw people off because some people are like, wait a minute, doesn't this guy? And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
the character's not part of that adventure now. Now he's part of my adventure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Booyah.
Yeah.
Oh, my biggest fear when I'm running a published adventure, if I go off the rails too much, some NPC is going to die that is going to be pivotal on page 200 of the adventure. And I think to myself, all right, so you know what? I don't know what this guy's supposed to do right now, so yeah, go ahead and kill him. And then later on, he's the only one that can, he has the key to turn for the nuclear device or something. It's
You
that
can always have a
guy.
long lost brother.
Well, yeah. But then it's trying to make up for how the hell did I screw that up? And
Yeah.
that's my biggest fear, and that's where I like the smaller. I don't know. It's sandbox. Strahd actually is sandbox once you get past a couple of things. You get past the beginning adventure. The D&D starter set, I think our favorite adventure, was similar to that. Once you got to Fandalen, it was kind of open. That city, it was just the way we played it was the whole MMORPG thing of you had quest givers in different spots. He has a yellow or yellow or orange exclamation or
Gotta talk to
question
that
mark.
guy.
Yeah. Otherwise, don't go talk to them because they're useless.
So Randy, when you were playing Pathfinder, that's a pretty rules-heavy, complicated system compared to 5e or certainly compared to Dungeon World. How do you
basically 3.5?
Yeah, exactly. So how do you feel about like rules-heavy versus rule-light, both from playing perspective and kind of from a listening perspective?
I can really go either way. Rules heavy, as long as you understand why the rules are there, you can. Once you get a grasp of them, you can get pretty far in a campaign without worrying too much about whether or not you can dual hand two weapons at once or whatever. I'm rambling, but
It's all good.
Welcome.
Now, I kind of like to keep the rules just like guidelines. I mean, they could be bent and maybe broken sometimes for the story, kind of thing. The story's more important.
Yeah.
Which I think why Dungeon World, that's why we gravitate. Because we're not really worried about the rules.
Not so much, no. When,
one world I would like to see you guys go back to was that steampunk game. You guys seem to have some fun with
Was
that
it
as
Adara?
well.
that was Adara,
That was before my time.
Now, the one part about that, too, is even though that game kind of fell flat, I still have the rules that we played with. But the other part of that is we could play that world in a different system because they finally published from their Kickstarter their Traveler's Guide to Adara, which is essentially a world book.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's not adventures. And I have that, so I have the hardcover of that. And
I loved
it's a lot
Adara
of
because I played a shotgun-wielding dwarf with a dragon sidekick.
That is pretty cool.
I had
Doesn't
steam
get much-
fists. I could punch things with my
Steam Punch,
fists.
yes, Steam Punch and Steampunk.
You're like Doomfist from Overwatch.
I mean, there were so many cool things in that game. Like that is, I looking back, it's probably one of my favorite ones we've ever done on this.
Well,
one.
you guys actually did a train heist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Between that and the
Armored cars
jumping
and-
from one car to another,
Yeah.
it's like so cool.
Yeah, that whole
It's not cooler than my game, Mike.
I will say I would love to play Cthulhu because I haven't played since it was like the old school
Everyone dies
percentages
game.
version.
was that Randy?
I said the Everyone Dies game.
That's right.
Yeah, you die, go crazy, so nobody wins.
If you guys both have not played Cthulhu, we should play the one that we
I
did
haven't
for
played in the new one.
Halloween.
I haven't played it since like
Yeah.
the '90s, where it was like the old school with percentage dice. Cthulhu,
Oh,
like
it's
the
fun.
original.
We have a couple of things with that because we did the Trail of Cthulhu for one of our Halloween episodes.
Yeah.
2017, I think it was. Regardless, we did that one. But I've also had requests when we've put out there on Facebook and questions of
It
what
comes
system,
up. Yeah.
the actual Cthulhu game, not the easy one. And I'm still contemplating that. I don't know. It's like $45 for the book or something. But to your point, I think it's still percentage dice. I'm not sure, but There's a lot of stuff that I'd have to learn to run it. But the Trail of Cthulhu we could definitely run, and I know they have some adventures. I may even have an adventure or two that we haven't run yet.
Yeah, Trail was easy. Is that Gumshoe system?
It is, yeah.
Which is easy to learn.
I mean, for me, I don't care if it's original system or not. It's just like that the whole world. I'd rather get. Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time, kind of thing.
It's fun. The most fun part of it is there's an insanity mechanism.
Yeah, right.
So as
Well,
things
that's the
happen,
same.
you get more and more
Yeah,
crazy.
it's the same thing where like you either go crazy or you die. Like there's no winning in Cthulhu.
Exactly. Exactly. It's kind of like life.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, well, our the Halloween episode, I'm trying to remember, Kevin was here. The Kevin who played the
Red Shirt
flamboyant bard.
Red Shirt Kevin.
Yes.
Red Shirt Kevin.
Randy knows.
That's right.
He was here for that. JJ and Mickey were here, and Kurt was here. I think that was our cast for that one. And that one ended with two characters on the beach killing themselves. It was a murder-suicide while the other two got away on the boat.
Right. And that was the one where, if I remember right, I wrote the backstories for the characters.
Yes.
And everyone's like, dude, this should be a novel.
Yeah.
Like, really. And I was thinking, still been thinking about those characters. Maybe doing something with them.
That would be cool.
I don't know that it came off that fun in the game, but the backstory I had in my mind for them was really awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we could take the characters that survived and bring them in a new game and play a Trail of Cthulhu game with those left over. Because I was interested in the one Randy said he liked, the Cthulhu Confidential. I was interested in continuing with Dex because Dex had a heart attack. He had some other problems. And if we brought him into another game, then he starts that game with
He's
the
the gruff old
disadvantage.
man.
Oh, yeah. It could be a cool way to continue with the same
He's the
character.
gruff old veteran. Yeah.
We should definitely consider Cthulhu.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we just did it in Dungeon World, that world would be fun for a little.
Well, I would
little
run
adventure.
it. I would run it in the Trail of Cthulhu system because I have that, and I could running the pre-published adventures for that. Kind of like the Chit Chat. I don't know if it's published or pre-published. I prefer published adventure because you can't pre-publish, right?
Just make it so, Joe.
Done.
Play my game.
But I think I have one or two adventures from that we didn't play, and I have the book. And the way they're written, they're done by scenes, so it's so easy not to screw up a later part. You go to a scene, and yes, at the beginning, it's if you've already been in this other scene, there's a difference here, but they tell you about it.
Yeah.
So it's a nice, easy setup to go. And my favorite part is you get all the clues you need to complete this scene. But your abilities and your actions help you discover hidden things, more clues, more detail. Like they give an example of all of the clues in the scene let you move from here to the next one and you have a car to drive. However, if you uncovered a special clue, you notice that the brake line's been cut. And that's going to help you when the car goes off to the next scene.
I can see where that
Otherwise, in the next scene, if you didn't discover that clue, you end up crashing when you get to that next scene.
Right. But it's nice because in Gumshoe, you never don't move forward.
Exactly.
As the designers say, it's no fun not to find a clue.
Yeah. So you always get the clues you need to complete the scene. How you interpret them becomes the fun part, and not what secret clues and extra things you find.
I'll have to start working on my old-timey voice.
Yeah. Randy, I think you've inspired us. I think we need to go back and have a throwback Idara session and a throwback Cthulhu session.
Put them together.
Sounds excellent.
Yeah, because I haven't played in either on this podcast. So
Seriously,
awesome.
like we could do 6-episode arcs on both of those and have a really good time.
The other thing I want to touch on is
Crossover.
your spy game, like espionage little campaign.
gosh,
That was a lot of fun.
I had fun doing that one. So
The thing I remember most about that, because I found it extremely funny at the time, is we're playing, I think it was in San Francisco. We turn this corner and Kurt says, you go around this warehouse where they film kink.com. I'm like, awesome, Kurt, thanks. Because now, for the rest of the episode, I'm thinking, that is what I saw at the beginning of that video. That's that warehouse?
yeah. As the dungeon master or the game master for that game, I remember a lot of things, but I particularly remember watching JJ's face, like the pain on JJ's face as he tried to understand the mechanics I was using for the car chase. And I'm like, roll a D4. He's like, oh, you swing around and your back end hits the building, and the next one, like, roll a D4, and this happens, and you can just literally see him like,
He's trying to
no
calculate
freaking way. There's no way that's working.
He's a big mechanics fan. Probably the biggest reason is because he wanted to know how he could take the best advantage of the mechanics.
Exactly.
How can he drive better at this game?
Yeah.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Mickey was like snoring next to him.
Taking a little nap. She didn't roll well, I guess. So that's another question, Randy. Out of the different mechanics in different systems that you've listened to, is there anything that you thought helps a game particularly well, or hurts for that matter?
I think the dungeon world mechanic has been my favorite so far. It gets right to the point, whether you hit and miss, and what the repercussions are for not doing exactly what you intended on doing.
Yeah.
The worst one is, I don't think I can think of a worse mechanic right now. I'm sure you guys have your least favorite ones.
The ones Kurt made up. I'm kidding. I had to say it because you just
maybe this is like, what's the worst you've played? Like for me, the worst was the Palladium stuff, whether it was like a sci-fi version or their fantasy. It was like I could have like 6 attacks, and the guy like, I could do 6 evades, and it was like it was horrible.
Right.
It was like one of the worst mechanics.
The system I have the hardest time with, and I should not, because it's designed to encourage story play. It's designed to be flexible. It's designed to be rules light. But I just can't. I've read the whole rule book. I don't instinctively get how Fate works. The Fate system.
Fate,
which is part of like the Dresden stuff.
And
yeah,
that was part
exactly.
of what we struggled with.
Exactly. I've struggled with it reading it. I've struggled with playing it, and I feel like a switch hasn't clicked for me.
Yeah.
I'd like to get into it. I just have a hard time with it.
And I still say the biggest reason we struggled with the Dresden Files role-playing game, not the that small adventure, because the small adventure in the haunted house was fun, because we were able to just jump through that. Yeah. But I think the biggest reason we struggled with the regular game was because nobody grasped the rules. Even the quick rule sheet, we didn't get to the point where we said, we know what this die roll means.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever got there. We got to where we said, the die roll says I failed. Not that I understood what it meant, just that was the end result.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I did like playing that character, but yeah, the mechanics, I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Well,
it was tricky.
And I've tried to learn Shadowrun on my own because I'm really drawn to that kind of cyberpunk sci-fi world. But boy, those rules are tough.
Yeah.
It's easier to play Cyberpunk.
I want so bad to play Shadowrun, but the real Shadowrun is just awful to play. Just awful. Like, it takes like 4 hours to create a character in Shadowrun. There's a Dungeon World hack for that universe, and it is so much better. It is like you can play all those nice things, and then there's not like dropping a busload of dice on the table.
I just thought of an adventure that I really had a lot of fun with, and I don't remember what we did it for, but remember the like 80s drug dealers in Miami?
That was the Miami Vice one.
Yeah, I didn't play that one.
I wore my Hawaiian shirt for that episode, too.
I had a lot of fun with that one.
So I've done that in Marvel. I've used the Marvel game system to do like a Miami Vice kind of game.
Yeah. And that one, that day, was a made-up system. It wasn't far off from Dungeon World, but it was a made-up system that day.
Neither of you guys were here for that?
Yeah.
Oh, man, we ended up in, like, highlight stadiums.
Yeah.
I listened to it. It was awesome. I was like, man, I always want to do that again.
We were at the dog track. Yep.
What about you, Randy? You have a game system? Like, I wish I'd never played that game. System's horrible. Even though, like, man, those adventures are cool and the characters are cool and this, but the world is awesome, but the game system just wrecked it for you.
Wrecked them.
Well, the most I've played is 3.5 on standard D&D and Pathfinder, which is also just almost a mirror image of that. The worst thing I played, though, is probably 4, the core system for 4. I know you guys try to play that a little bit, too, as well. That system is... we didn't even get to making the characters. We just read about it, and it just seemed like they stripped everything away out of creativity in that game.
Yeah, to me, like, I've never played 4, but to me, it came off like it was very video game-ish. I'm playing a video game, but we're role-playing, but not really. It's just attack stuff. I don't know. Yeah. That's how it seemed to me. I've never played it, but just the look of it, just like, nah, why would I want to do that?
I started on 4, and I appreciate it.
I'm surprised you stuck around then.
In a way, because it's more playing a board game than playing a role-playing game, because you have like cards and you have minis and stuff like that, and I don't think it would work on a podcast that wasn't video. But
big visual element.
But I mean, I can appreciate it in a way, because it was like, oh, and I have this card that does this move, and then you have to flip that card over because you used it for the day, and then like I want to move, but I have to move in a way that I don't provoke from that guy, and I mean, it's cool. I don't know, it's a different way to play.
I can say from my experience with that I played a fair amount of 4th edition in and out of gaming stores, and I thought 4th edition was great for the D&D Encounters, which was the in-store gaming, because it was so easy to play. You got a character, and everything you could do was on paper in front of you. Kind of like the way I think Dungeon World works so well, like the D&D 5th edition starter set works so well. Everything you could do is right there in front of you. You really didn't have to look up any rules. It said, Mike mentioned the card. Mike and card is Mark. Just so you know. But it mentioned the card, and the card says right on it, this is your daily move. You do this. You roll this. Its effects are this, and it's all right on the card. So I thought it was really good in that you can sit at a table with several people and say, here's your character, that's what you can play. And they don't have to even bring a rule book with them to play it. But to Mike's point, is very visual. Every time you had a map, you had minis, you had your cards, and not being able to see what's going on would definitely be difficult.
I think back you said that Mickey, when you first started doing Dungeon World, wanted to know like the box that she was going to play in, and the whole you can do anything, just you have to roll was tough. I think Mickey would love 4th edition because it's
she did. She cut her teeth
this.
on 4th edition at an encounter session that I was at, actually, one of the first times she played. And JJ loved it because everything was tactical and numbers based, and it was all there in your face.
I think a lot of people seem to have that. What can I do? Like, well, you can do whatever you want.
Right. So it's 4th edition. I think it's a lot more resource management because you've got this card, and once you use it, you can't do that ability anymore. Whereas in 5e or Dungeon World, you're like, hey, I want a somersault off of the altar. And
I know.
In 5th edition, it's still the same because you'll have something that uses a key point, and you don't get that back till tomorrow. Right? That kind of thing. But in 4th edition, it was a physical card in front of you. You flipped it over to show that you had used it. So, Randy, what other questions might you have for us? Like, why is Chris so cool?
What?
or is there anything in particular you might like to see us do over the next year that you'd like to listen to?
Just continue playing more games, and that flashback to the ones you previously played sounds like a great idea. It would be nice to hear those stories. Not those stories specifically, but those worlds again.
Yeah. Like, I think, for example, on the Espionage or the Miami game, we wouldn't have to pick up necessarily even with the same characters in the same place, but you could kind of have just enough of a link between those
kind
worlds.
of genre a little bit.
It'd be fun.
That flavor.
We can have some interdimensional portals going on. We can drop steampunk into Florida.
Steampunk.
And that was 80s Florida, too.
Yeah, that's right. Don Johnson world.
Yeah, you played a computer hacker.
I think that's right.
That double-crossed
everyone. I double-crossed everyone at the end.
Yep.
So,
that's awesome.
That's right.
Yeah. We got out on the boat with the big, huge shootout. And I did the double switch.
I think the only thing that would make my guy with the steam fist better is a pastel jacket.
With the sleeves rolled up.
And a Ferrari.
And a Ferrari, yes.
Awesome. Well, this is fun. I have to tell you, Randy, it's nice to get to chat with you because, I think we would probably do this regardless, but it's nice knowing that we have people that are listening and following and enjoy it. So it's we're not making making money.
Pleasure. You guys are great. It's great hearing you guys every week.
Awesome. I know some guys out there.
I'm not sure my eagle will fit out the door when we're done. I'm pretty sure I'm not. Yeah.
I was gonna say we're not those guys that are making big bucks off of this, or it's not launching our acting careers. It's just we just enjoy playing, and
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, Joe's actually going to Hollywood next week. He just hasn't told anyone.
He's going to kick.com now. Really, that's what's happening.
I gotta go to San Francisco see the warehouse.
So.
That's cool. Yeah, so it sounded like Kurt was cutting us off, but we don't need to be cut off.
No. I was just expressing
you can grab
appreciation.
some more of my nuts if you like, Kurt.
I'm just so happy that Joe put his nuts on the table.
Me too. Now I also put those on the table. Hey-o. So yeah, I think it was asked what else you wanted to talk about, Randy. So you should go ahead and talk.
Oh, jeez.
Because you're here and all.
On the spot.
I wish I came more prepared. I don't have a whole lot of questions. Mostly, I don't really have any questions, really.
So
it's all good.
So now that you've set up the video conferencing, Joe, would you be open to having a remote player, or do you think it's?
I think what I'd like to know when we entertain that idea, for me at least, it starts to become more video oriented. So this video that I'm going to put up on Facebook about this, if that works well, right? If that comes off as a good video on Facebook, I'll probably upload it to our YouTube channel as well. But if that works, then I think it's possible. Because right now, and just to talk technical for a minute, what we're hearing in our ears, and you guys can see it in the room here, but there's this laptop with like 25 wires plugged into it that lead over to that monitor with that camera, and then I have the same audio that we're hearing is the actual audio coming out of that laptop mixed with all the microphones we're wearing out through a splitter and all this, right? So in order to be able to hear it, right?
Just so you know, you lost me a computer.
Just take a nap. That's why I said it was going to be technical for a minute. But then that same audio that we're hearing is what's actually being pumped into this camera that's recording the bit for Facebook. So if it all sounds good and we're able to be interactive with the other person, because one of my biggest concerns, having been at a job where we use video conferencing for a long time. Chris and I actually worked together at the same company for a while, and a lot of our calls were Google Hangout video conferencing. One of the biggest concerns is that the person, in our case, the person at the end of the table on camera is the one that might get lost in conversation because we're sitting around, we can see each other, which is one reason I set it up like this, so it would be obvious when Randy moves, we can see somebody move right there. It's not just
I feel like he's like right here with us.
He's right
It's like,
there.
hey, Randy, I could almost give him 5.
But as long as it
Hi,
can,
Randy.
as long as it can feel,
I'm going to devour your soul.
you are too. As long as it can feel like it's interactive enough, as
Save
if the
me, Boo.
person
Save me.
He's saved.
Oh, very nice.
yeah.
Very nice.
If it's interactive enough that the person there can play an equal role at the table, then all that is to get to the point of, yes, I think this could work. I would want to come up with some kind of dice showing mechanic, because it's always cool to watch someone else roll dice. And Randy held dice up to the camera last night so I could see. But one of the things I thought was just like a little plastic tub, like I used to have card holders. If you could roll it and then the side that's facing the camera, we could see the number at the same time, that could be neat. Because to what Randy said earlier, I wouldn't want a dice app on the screen because that'd be boring. I'd like to be able
We
to
could use
see
the dice tower that we have now. Where you put them in and it goes down, down,
Yep.
down, down, and you get the results.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. I've seen, like, because I watch a lot of role-playing stuff online, and a lot of them use the Roll20 that's, like, it just shows the number on the side. I almost think that, like, as much as Joe has gotten the audio thing, like super good, like, it's so much of a higher mountain to do the video thing.
It is.
And you have to, like, like, most of them have a camera on each person. They have it set up. There's another one. If you're doing the dice thing on the table, there's another camera over top of the table. There might be one that's showing everyone. And it's like, it's just so involved to get that to the quality that I think Joe would want to do it.
It would also be really.
I've done it. We'd need more lights in here, though, which would kind of blind people a bit.
It would also be hard for me to have all the porn on my laptop without that showing up on the internet.
Well, we would have the camera facing you, and as long as your laptop is
As long as it's above the waist.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to see under the table. We got the under the table cam.
That's what we really don't need with this crew.
We just need somebody to keep wiping the lens.
Joe, too far, too far.
What? Because it'll probably get dusty.
Oh, yeah.
What were you guys? You perverts! Oh, that's disgusting.
All the humidity.
Yeah, with the video, I think
Humidity.
I think
Wipe
you
it.
almost need a producer person to be like flipping between cameras and stuff, and
Unless it picks up on the audio and like automatically switches because of that, like in a, like a chat session.
Unfortunately, I'm not ready to drop like $5,000 to get
that's
that done.
Yeah.
No, let me clarify. I am ready to. I'm just not going to.
Right, yeah.
I want my robot lawnmower first.
Also, I'm just thinking if it automatically switched based on voice, those moments where we get going, the
Yeah.
camera would be like, it would give someone seizures.
Quick cuts.
That's cool.
Yeah, seizures are cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Our podcast, vlog gave me a seizure.
Yes.
It's the warning
That'd
at the
be neat.
beginning of the episode.
Yes. The
Yes,
following podcast may give seizures. Seizures.
By
And
the
be
seashore.
explicit.
That's awesome. So, Randy, I'm going to ask you, since it's hanging out back there, what bass is that, and do you still play?
It's a Johnson. I'm not really sure what type, and I do not play bass. I play drums. That was given to me from a friend I helped move one day.
Gotcha.
Yeah, someone scratched something on it. Can't even see what it is right now. It was like Riot or something.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's a pretty big Johnson back there.
It's got a nice G string on that Johnson.
You should see him grab it by the neck.
Are you
a bass? That's how you grab it.
Yeah.
You guys, man.
Are you in a
tell my
band?
friends they can play with my Johnson, and they just walk away from me.
Those aren't the right friends.
I would be honored to play with your Johnson, Randy. I'm a
You
bass
guys will
player,
be
so
just nuts, but no one will play with my Johnson.
I would totally jam on your Johnson.
No, there is the episode. Jam on your Johnson.
Jam on your Johnson.
We're-
Do you
gonna write
currently
that
play
down.
drums in a band or anything, or you just kind of like?
Yeah, I currently play drums in a band. I came off of one that lasted about 7 years, and this one I've been going for almost a year strong now.
Cool. What kind of stuff?
This one's street punk. The last one was more of a Rise Against style.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
Just punk meets punk rock.
That's
Awesome.
awesome, man.
Very cool.
Steampunk rock.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
you guys-
There you go. Yeah, you need to start steampunk rock, man.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I like
That's
it.
got to be out
Awesome.
there somewhere.
Yeah, somebody's doing
My
it
volume
right.
all the way down. I could not hear you guys for 2 seconds.
All right. Well, you can hear us now, just in time for us to close the episode.
That's great.
Yeah, the only thing you missed there was Chris just talking about your Johnson again.
Ah,
So it's all
that's cool.
I was thinking, hey, if you've got any original stuff that you could share, maybe we could do some steampunk rock to open up. We can use that music to open up our steampunk episode. That could be neat.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
There you go.
And we'll give you a shout out if you want to, if your band wants to give us a snippet to play.
Yeah, man.
Because as it is, except for the Star Trek episode, everything is music that I've done here. So it's all original stuff anyway. It'd be cool to do other people's original stuff.
Yeah.
I think this thing cut me off. I said street punk.
Yeah, and I'm saying steam street
okay.
punk.
Yeah, we're saying
Steampunk
We
rock.
need to develop a new
Yeah.
kind of punk.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just put steam in there somewhere, and we can say it's steampunk rock, steam street punk, street
That's
steam.
links to our
punk.
songs.
Exactly. And wear goggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
But hey, it's been great having Randy
cool.
joining us remotely. I think this went well,
Yeah,
both
should've
technically and hanging out with Randy.
Yeah.
Anyone have anything else they want to say before we?
No, man, we appreciate your time and we appreciate your listening. And thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, man.
Of course. Thanks,
man.
guys.
Hey, and that's it. We all say
Bye-bye.
Bye.
click this stuff.
The preceding podcast was brought to you by One Joe Young. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com. The preceding podcast was brought to you by Shed Geek. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com.